Hey everyone, and welcome to our deep dive, this time on building better mental health.
Yeah, it's a topic we all think about, but how often do we really dig in?
Exactly, and that's why we're here today.
Yeah, for a deep dive.
We're diving deep into an article from helpguide.org called Building Better Mental Health.
It's got some great strategies.
6 in total.
6 key strategies that anyone can use, like you listening right now, to boost your mood,
Increase your resilience.
and improve your overall well-being mentally.
One of the things I found really interesting about this approach is it's not just about the absence of problems.
Right. It's not just like, oh, I don't have depression, so I guess I'm good.
Yeah, it goes beyond that.
It's like, how can I thrive? How can I be my best self mentally?
Exactly, and that's where this idea of resilience comes in.
Oh, yeah, resilience. That's key.
It's a big part of what they talk about.
Think of it like physical fitness.
Okay.
If you're physically fit, you bounce back from illness faster. Right?
Makes sense.
Same with mental resilience.
Yeah.
The more resilient you are, the better you can navigate stress challenges, setbacks.
So what does that look like in practice? Like how do you actually become more resilient?
That's the $1,000,000 question, right?
Yeah.
Well, they give us some good tools in this article.
Okay.
And one of the most powerful ones, and it might surprise you,
Okay, lay it on me.
is human connection.
Oh, that's interesting. Especially because they really emphasize face-to-face interaction.
Like real, genuine, in-person connection.
Right, not just texting or social media.
Which we all do a ton of.
Yeah.
But they're saying that doesn't cut it.
Yeah, why is that? Why is face-to-face so important?
Well, it has to do with our nervous system. Like when we interact face-to-face,
Okay.
our brains release oxytocin,
I've heard of that.
the bonding hormone, it's often called.
Yeah, it makes you feel all warm and fuzzy.
Exactly. And it calms our stress response. It helps us feel better on a physiological level.
So even if I'm not like a super social person, just making an effort to have more in-person interactions,
It can make a difference.
even small ones,
Even small ones.
like smiling at someone in line or chatting with the barista.
Those little moments add up. They really do.
That's good to know because sometimes those little things feel insignificant.
I know, but they can actually help counteract that feeling of isolation, which we all feel sometimes.
Makes sense.
And that isolation, that's not good for our mental health.
So connection is key.
Absolutely. And another key player is physical activity.
Oh, yeah. We all know exercise is good for our bodies.
But it's amazing for our minds, too.
What's the connection there?
Well, when we exercise, our brains release all these wonderful chemicals.
Like
Endorphins, dopamine, serotonin.
the feel-good chemicals.
Exactly. It's like a natural antidepressant.
So exercise is like a direct line to our mental state.
You could say that. And it's not just about mood. It can actually help us become more resilient.
Really?
There's research that suggests that exercise increases the volume of the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for memory and emotional regulation.
So it strengthens our ability to handle stress and bounce back from tough times.
Exactly.
I have to admit, though, when I think of exercise, I tend to think of going to the gym, which isn't always appealing.
I hear you. But the good news is it doesn't have to be the gym.
Okay.
This article suggests some other things you can do.
Like what?
Walking in nature is a big one.
I can get behind that.
Dancing, playing active video games, even taking the stairs instead of the elevator.
It all counts.
It all contributes to your mental well-being. And it doesn't have to be super intense either.
That's good to know.
Even moderate activity can make a difference.
Now, they also mentioned something about bringing mindfulness to our workouts. What's that all about?
Oh yeah, that's a cool tip. It's basically about turning your workout into a moving meditation.
Okay.
So instead of letting your mind wander while you're exercising, you really focus on your body,
Okay.
your breath, the rhythm of your movement, how your feet feel on the ground.
So it's about being present in your body.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that deeper mind-body connection, it enhances the mental benefits of exercise even more.
So it's like a win-win for both our physical and mental health.
Exactly. Now, we've talked about connection, we've talked about exercise, but there's another big piece of the puzzle.
And that is...
Stress.
Oh, boy. Yeah, that's a big one.
Because, let's face it, stress is unavoidable.
It's part of life.
So what can we do?
Yeah, what can we do?
Well, this article emphasizes the importance of developing what they call a stress management toolbox.
Okay, I like that. A toolbox. So what kind of tools are we talking about?
Well, one of the tools is using sensory input to calm your nervous system.
Sensory input.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to how face-to-face interaction affects us. Engaging our senses can directly impact our stress levels.
Interesting. So give me some examples. What kind of sensory input are we talking about?
Well, it's really about finding what works best for you.
Okay.
For some people, it might be listening to calming music.
Yeah.
For others, it might be surrounding themselves with pleasant scents. Or maybe it's the feeling of a stress ball in their hand. Something tactile.
So it's like creating a personalized stress relief kit.
Exactly. And another crucial tool in that toolbox is prioritizing leisure time.
This is something I think a lot of us struggle with.
I know, I do too. It's so easy to get caught up in the hustle and bustle of life.
Yeah, we tend to see fun and relaxation as luxuries. Things we can only do after all the important stuff is done.
And that's exactly the mindset we need to shift.
Okay.
Because the truth is, fun isn't frivolous. It's essential for our mental health.
So how do we make that shift? How do we start prioritizing leisure time?
It starts with recognizing that it's not selfish to take time for yourself. It's actually an act of self-care. And it's about making a conscious effort to schedule in those activities that bring you joy.
Like?
Watching a funny movie, going for a walk in nature, reading a good book.
Anything that helps you unwind and recharge.
Exactly. And this ties into another key strategy that they highlight in the article, finding purpose and meaning in your life.
Okay, this one feels a little bit more philosophical, I guess.
It is, but it's super important. The article compares it to the importance of exercise for our physical health.
So it's like food for our soul.
You could say that.
Mm-hmm.
And they suggest that finding meaning can actually impact brain cell growth.
Wow. Our brains actually benefit from having a sense of purpose.
It's not just about feeling good. It's about fostering brain health. And the cool thing is, purpose can come from so many different things.
Like, what are some examples?
Well, they mention things like engaging work, nurturing relationships, caring for a pet, volunteering.
So it's not necessarily about, like, having this grand career or achieving some huge goal.
It can be found in the everyday things.
In the simple things.
Exactly. It's about finding what resonates with you and brings you a sense of fulfillment.
This is already giving me so much to think about. And we haven't even talked about the importance of seeking professional help, which is also something they address in the article.
Right. Because sometimes self-help isn't enough, and that's okay.
Absolutely. And they specifically mention online therapy as a potential option. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's amazing. It's made therapy so much more accessible.
In what way?
Oh, it's often more affordable. It fits into busy schedules. You don't have to worry about traveling to an office.
So it removes a lot of the barriers that might prevent people from seeking help.
Exactly. And research shows that it can be just as effective as in-person therapy for many conditions.
That's good to know. It's really encouraging to see how technology is being used to make mental health care more accessible.
It's a positive development for sure.
So to recap, we've covered the power of social connection, the importance of staying active, managing stress, finding purpose and meaning, and even seeking professional help when needed. It's an impressive toolkit for building better mental health.
It is. And the best part is it's all based on practical strategies that we can start implementing today.
That's what I love about this approach. It's not just about information, it's about empowerment.
Absolutely. It's about giving you the tools you need to take charge of your mental well-being.
And we want to hear from you, our listeners. What resonated most with you from our discussion so far? What insights or strategies are you particularly interested in exploring further? We'll be back in a moment to continue our journey into building better mental health.
Welcome back, and thanks for sticking with us as we keep exploring ways to build better mental health.
We're picking up on something we touched on earlier about seeking professional help when you need it.
It can be tough, to admit that you need help.
Definitely. But you know what? It's actually a sign of strength.
Totally.
Yeah.
It shows self-awareness and a willingness to take care of yourself.
And there are more options than ever these days.
Especially with online therapy.
Yeah, the helpguide.org article talked about that a bit.
It's pretty amazing, actually, how accessible therapy has become.
Right, like you don't have to worry about finding a therapist in your area.
Or taking time off work to go to appointments.
And it can be more affordable, too.
Oh, exactly. It's just a really great option for people who might not have been able to access therapy in the past.
Plus, the research shows that it can be just as effective as in-person therapy for a lot of conditions.
That's really reassuring, I think.
Yeah, it is. So remember, folks, seeking help is a good thing. If you're struggling, don't hesitate to reach out.
Okay, now let's shift gears a bit and talk about something else that the article emphasized.
What's that?
Finding purpose and meaning in your life.
Yeah, I remember that. It felt like a pretty profound topic.
It is. It goes beyond just practical tips.
Yeah.
It really gets to the heart of what makes life fulfilling.
I think a lot of people struggle with this, though. Like, how do you actually find your purpose?
It's a big question.
Yeah.
And the answers could be different for everyone.
But the article did offer some concrete examples, right?
Yeah, it did. It talked about things like engaging work, nurturing relationships, caring for a pet, volunteering.
It's a pretty diverse list.
And that's the point. Purpose can come from so many different places.
So it's not necessarily about like having this prestigious career or achieving some grand goal.
Not at all. It's more about how you engage with the world and what brings you a sense of meaning and satisfaction.
So like if you find fulfillment in your work, that's great.
Absolutely. But if your passion lies in spending time with loved ones or volunteering in your community, that's equally valid.
The key is to find what lights you up.
Exactly. And to remember that purpose doesn't have to be this big dramatic thing.
It can be found in the everyday moments.
Totally. Like taking care of your family or pursuing a hobby that you love.
Or even just taking the time to appreciate the beauty around you.
Exactly. It's about those little things that bring you joy and make you feel connected to something bigger than yourself.
This has been a really insightful conversation.
I agree. It's given me a lot to think about.
We've covered so much ground, from the importance of social connection and physical activity to the power of sleep and nutrition and finding purpose.
And how seeking professional help is a sign of strength, not weakness.
It's a lot to take in, but I think the key takeaway is that building better mental health is a journey, not a destination.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah. It's not about achieving some perfect state of happiness. It's about embracing the ups and downs of life and developing those healthy habits that support your well-being.
And remembering that it's okay to ask for help when you need it.
Absolutely. We all need support sometimes. And there's no shame in reaching out.
So true. This whole conversation has been really empowering, I think.
I hope so. It's all about giving you the tools and knowledge you need to take charge of your mental health.
Exactly. So with that in mind, what's one thing you're going to do today to prioritize your mental well-being?
Think about it, folks. What small step can you take to nurture your mental garden?
We're back and ready to wrap up our deep dive into building better mental health.
It's been quite a journey exploring all these different facets of well-being, hasn't it?
Definitely, from social connection and exercise to stress management and finding purpose.
Oh, and of course, the importance of sleep and nutrition.
We can't forget about those.
Absolutely. They're foundational.
So as we bring this deep dive to a close, what are your final thoughts?
One thing that really stands out to me is that building better mental health is not about achieving some kind of perfect state.
Yeah, it's not about being happy all the time.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that life has ups and downs. And it's about equipping ourselves with the tools to navigate those ups and downs effectively.
I think that's such an important point, because so often we get caught up in this idea that happiness is the goal.
Right. And if we're not happy all the time, then we're doing something wrong.
But that's just not realistic.
It's not realistic at all.
Yeah.
And it sets us up for disappointment.
So instead of chasing this elusive idea of perfect happiness,
it's more about focusing on building resilience.
And developing those healthy coping mechanisms that allow us to weather the storms.
Exactly. It's about learning to embrace the journey with all its imperfections.
I love that, embracing the journey.
It's a much more compassionate and sustainable approach, I think.
I agree. And it's a reminder that we're all in this together.
We're all human. We all experience challenges and setbacks.
But we don't have to go through them alone.
There's support available, whether it's from loved ones or from professionals.
And remember, seeking help is a sign of strength, not weakness.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into building better mental health, we want to leave you with this thought.
Your mental well-being is a precious gift.
It's something to be nurtured and prioritized.
And it's worth investing in.
So take what you've learned from this deep dive and start putting it into practice.
Even small changes can make a big difference.
Remember those little steps we talk about?
Like taking a walk in nature, reaching out to a friend, practicing mindfulness.
Those things might seem small, but they can have a ripple effect on your overall well-being.
So keep learning, keep growing, and keep taking care of yourselves.
And we'll see you on the next deep dive.
Thanks for joining us.